Yes! Unfortunately, probably the worst fight in the game. But I did it. I realized something when the wall of projectiles appears that forces you to use the teleporter. You should just jump in the teleporter as soon as possible to avoid the situation where the spikes kill you on the way out of the red crystal. So yeah, let me just make sure that I'm recording properly. I'm unmuted, yeah. That's great. What more do I say about that fight? It really is just so much easier when the maggots don't spawn, and I feel like sometimes the arrow that indicates a maggot spawning appears, but a maggot doesn't appear, which makes me wonder if that's intentional. I don't know. It's all, I guess, uphill from here in terms of difficulty and quality. Everything else here is just excellent. I think maybe if the wall of... It's hard for me to explain how that boss could be made more fair, or completely fair, which would be ideal. Maybe the green beams could have gaps in between them so that it's really tough to avoid by standing in between the green beams. That way you'd have less situations where you're just completely walled off. You could go in between the green beams if moving the full distance to get out of their range would just kill you anyway because you're up against a wall, or it would make you run into the maggot or one of Ayla's attacks or something like that. But yeah, on to the Viaduct. Now these are the last 3 platforming stages in the game. We have a new turret that causes those explosions with its rockets, but it always shoots straight, so it's not really that bad. I think that cannon shoots lobbed explosives, but you can just shoot the guy manning it from down here. I remember I really struggled with this. I think it's because I was bonking my head against the ceiling too much. They give you an excessive number of... Oh, right. No one needs to man that thing. Made it. But yeah, it does just shoot cannonballs like the tanks. I want to say this music is from Dark Souls, but I couldn't tell you. I'm actually not too crazy about the Dark Souls soundtracks. They're effective, but it's mostly when... It's adds some unique, memorable part of the game. For instance, I'm not crazy about the boss themes, the more bombastic ones. Right. They do use the debris to hide landmines like that. What's that one boss theme that's practically a meme at this point because everyone uses it? Was it from Dark Souls 3? I couldn't name it, I just don't care enough to remember the details. Alright. I find it interesting that these gates also appear in the tutorial area. I wonder if there's something to that. It's weird, but I'm not actually that far away from the end of the game. In terms of levels, I'm very close, but in terms of bosses, it's an uphill battle, like I said. Oh, well, that was a mistake. At least I can use the shotgun from down here, so it's all good. Oh, did that guy not spot me? Yeah, he didn't. I didn't know they could be in that ready stance, but not aggressive. Oh, about Ayla Devalon, I should have said. I was showing off the boss because I was stuck on it for the first time, at the time. And I was showing it off to my friends. Oh, this bit's cool. I think you should use the machine gun here. Yeah. That's not even hard, that's just a really awesome bit. Anyway, I'll finish my thought before I continue. At the time, I was really struggling because I didn't know how to minimize the nonsense of Ayla Devalon, so I was just getting walled off way more often, getting overwhelmed by the maggot spawns. I was talking to my friends about how the fight's kind of ridiculous, I don't know if I'll be able to do it, and right when they leave, because they were visiting at the time, I think we were, I don't remember, were we playing board games? In any case, once they leave later that night, I start playing again and I just immediately call one of them on the phone, which I don't usually do, but that's how excited I was. I was like, I beat it! I beat that stupid tree and that witch! I was very enthusiastic. Yeah, here's something silly. Pretty sure these gates that close up are enemies and not tiles, so the snipers can shoot through them. That's kind of ridiculous. If you go to the right, it's that sentry you can see up above the doorway. It's a bunch of jumps across spikes, and I think a few more turrets, alternatively, if I don't mess this up. Again, my aerial maneuvering of the kid could use a lot of work. This really isn't that bad. This is just me being bad. You gotta think fast when you teleport, though. Oh no, it's just the snipers and the spikes, that's right. It's definitely better to go through there. Although you could take out the turret here before entering this room. That was close. Oh yeah, I never explained in the tutorial, but these red tokens give you an extra high jump. That's how they differ from the blue ones. Okay, what was this part? Before I move on, is this... Yeah, there's a secret down here. I think I fell straight down. I missed the first red token, fell straight down, saw this platform, and decided to investigate. Right, there isn't a tile there. No, no, no. Come on now. This isn't even hard. There's this person. And my reward is dialogue that I cannot understand. There's just 3 lines. I assume it's just an Easter egg because, yeah, this takes you straight back here. Oh yeah, the blast radius on those is huge. I did have to drop down to survive. I could have also just restarted, but hey, it's cooler if I actually do it. I can't remember which weapon I'll need here, if any. I'm gonna assume the machine gun. Oh no. I think I am right about the machine gun. It's just... Ah, there we go. The first time I didn't destroy the first wall before landing on the ledge, so I wanted to be more mindful of my jump arc there. Ooh, right. How did this go? I think I can get the sniper with a rocket here. Yeah. Or wait. Oh, the machine gun got him anyway. I like that. It's another unique combination of enemies with that big tank. And the explosion here really punishes you for hanging back. Yes. Like before, I did practice all these levels, and I beat the next boss. So I hope I can do all of that again now. Actually, not only... Wait a minute. Are these indestructible? Do they just have a practically unlimited amount of life? Okay, I see. So you do have to do that. For whatever reason, they kill you the moment they touch you. I guess they couldn't... That's it. Right, that checkpoint is just there so that those walls don't screw you over. How kind, actually. I don't think a lot of fan games would let you get away with that. They'd be like, no, you will get past those shutters after doing everything from the previous checkpoint to here consecutively. And I'd be fine with that, honestly. It's not that bad. What the hell was I saying? Oh no. To my future self, make a note if you didn't finish your thought here. Oh, right. This. Oh, and I need to slide again. Yeah, before reaching the checkpoint. So, there are tiles identical to the ones I'm standing on right now that will explode shortly after you touch them. And the explosion can kill you. It's not like the tile just disappears and drops you into a pit. So that's what's going on here. Ah, crap. There we go. I think you should just hold down and right there, and the moment you see the kid crouch, press the jump button. And it's all good. There's an endless stream of tanks down there. It's a little silly. This part of the game is kind of grim, and yet these guys holding on to the rockets. I think the point is that, let's see if I can... Oh, they do explode if you shoot them, so that's not gonna work. I think perhaps the point of soldiers hanging onto those rockets is to get you to shoot at them. Because you can't actually blow them up. But here you have to trigger that one. I wonder when they're expecting you to fall off the edge and use that blue token. I think you can get away with not using it. But I think that's what's intended. You have to use your air jump and then grab it to do another one, or else you won't make it back onto the ledge. Okay, now what the hell was it? I can't really remember. Wait, I think I do. Not quite, I forgot about that part. Again, there's that. This, and screw you all, I'm going for the save point. I think those two rocket guys are just here to catch you when you go for the save point. Yeah, they don't reappear after this point. Or am I triggering them while going down so they run into the tiles below me here? Whatever the case. Glad that went smoothly. You can try slowing down a bit and fighting those soldiers and spawners, but there's really no point. You might as well just do what I did. Oh look, it's this again. I think this only happened in the first area. This is a variation on these choppers with explosive rounds. They each go down in 2 rockets, but it can be kind of hard to aim. I think the machine gun works fine as well. I'm not sure which is better. I guess if you land every single rocket, that's probably faster. Yeah, since a version of those helicopters appeared in the first area, it feels like we're going full circle. Oh right, this is a leap of faith. Kind of a dick move, but I already know. And then... yeah, that's really mean. That's not really fair, but when you know it is fair. So ultimately it is fair. These elevators stop you from moving, by the way. I can mash the controls, but nothing's gonna happen. I guess this thing right here is an upgraded version of the plant enemies from earlier. If you're close enough to this thing, I think it's a complete gamble if you're gonna live or not, but thankfully you don't have to be. Although this is kind of tricky. There are more explosive tiles here. You can't destroy this shutter wall here. And just keep jumping. Once you get deep enough, there's no risk. There's no risk of the plant's projectiles getting you. I died quite a few times here. I'm glad I did that first try. Shoot the soldiers, dig a hole over there. Don't be stupid like me right there, you're gonna squander your victory. It can be kind of tricky to figure out when to drop down right here. Sometimes you can jump too early and the tiles won't detonate, like so. Seriously. Damn it. I think I should have just shot them. This is pretty tricky. I do think they wander around randomly, so maybe you want to drop down in a different spot depending on that. But it should be fine here, provided I just do that. Ah! And I was expecting one of them to shoot too, and yet... okay. The part I practiced is not a problem, but the parts I just aced first try are. That's how it goes, really. Okay. Now just hold down the fire button. you fool. I forgot! Ah, I even made a mental note earlier that, that's funny that they try to get you with the shutters one last time. Egg on my face. I really should know better than that. Yeah, sometimes they spot you. I understand it has to do with the tiles. I think you can manipulate that into being completely consistent. Especially if you jump fast enough to where the tiles... I think the soldier who spotted me first made me panic there. It might be possible to kill the weird plant thing, but why bother? I think that's just more dangerous than doing this. I'm jumping too soon. I should jump near the end, obviously. Wow, they got me good with this last chunk of this level. That was close. Well, that worked out. Now, you know what to do. Don't mess this up. Third time's the charm. There we go. It's really devious because you see that the screen stops scrolling there, and by this point you know that that's the end of the level. And then the two shutters just steal your victory. It's pretty hilarious. I don't mind the mischief of fan games and like Kaizo Mario and stuff like that. Speaking of which, I need to mess around with Mario World hacks, but I'm quite interested in some of those. They're pretty damn cool. I think they're actually sometimes on par with Justice Guy here, in terms of like really cool platforming stages and the occasional insanely elaborate and awesome custom boss. I'm looking at you, janked up Mario Party, aka Jump. Oh, I really should get into that. It looks awesome. Yeah, 6-3, no notes. Lots of combat in this one. There is a lower path, but it connects back up here pretty quickly. I forget what the difference is exactly. Oof. Audio stacking. Apologies on behalf of the devs. That's rough on the ears. This sort of feels like the last of the enemy forces desperately trying to stop you. And look, a new enemy. It's just a ground-based version of the homing missile launchers. I don't know if it gets used outside of here. Yeah, it fires straight up and then they curve and start homing in on you. It's not really that different. It's probably just easier than the other homing missile launchers. So this part, I'm gonna use the handgun, if you can believe it. Basically, the random spread of the machine gun can... Right, I forgot. For some reason, jumping while the truck is moving causes you to get pushed to the left, so I need to correct for that. It doesn't really make sense in terms of physics, but... Now, using the handgun here is harder than just holding down the machine gun, but if you do it right, it is consistent because there's no random spread. And now a mini-boss. Oh, that was close. If you didn't get pushed back during this, I think I would enjoy it a little bit more. Not the biggest fan of the difficulty coming from that. I don't know if this thing has armor, but it's so hard to consistently land rockets on it. I think it only has 2 attacks that let you damage it, so... it's better to just be firing in anticipation of those attacks happening. Like that. And now stay towards the back here, because these motorcycles will explode on the front. I was gambling there. That's another place where you want to use the handgun. And that's it. No S, unfortunately. If there's any place where I should get an S, it's 6-3. But oh well. I kind of like these levels. There's a nice build up to the end of the game here. Enough different platforming, some weird gimmicks, and then just a ton of enemies, which are kind of cathartic to blast through. So, the boss. I have a lot to say about this. Again, I like that you start on the truck. Continuity is always nice. It's a sword. It's Gottfried. I have no idea if this guy is a reference to anything. He looks kinda cool, I guess. Pardon the phrasing, but I think this is one of the devs' OCs. I should start explaining now what I'm doing here and why. Because this fight can be kind of tricky if you don't know how to approach it. As I die, I will explain what's going on. Here, you want to moonwalk in this direction because you're getting constantly sucked in. And then just jump over the Danmaku. Ah! Yeah, I should have realized that there's a projectile there. So, that was really good. But the point here, and I guess you can see that when he wins, he just vanishes into the sword. If I had to speculate on the lore, he's like the last line of defense for the castle. Maybe he's forced to serve eternally or something. I don't know. I might as well be talking about Dark Souls lore. Where do I begin? So, first of all, whenever Gottfried vanishes into the shadows, he'll appear next to you and swing his sword in an overhead. If you're closer... I know you can see my mouse cursor, so I'll use that. If you're closer to the right half of the screen, he'll appear to the right of you, and the left side to the left. So the point exactly in the middle of the screen, it can be kind of ambiguous to tell in the moment where he's going to show up. So try to stay away from the middle for that reason. You might have seen an attack where like a wall of darkness appears and then shoots forward. Basically the leading part of the particle effects is where the hitbox on that is. For some reason, that wall of shadow always spawns disjointed to the left of Gottfried. So he's right here. The wall spawns like ahead. And this is a problem because if you're to the left of Gottfried and you're shooting him with the shotgun, the wall of darkness might just appear right on top of you and kill you. But if you're on the right side of him, it's still displaced to the left, which makes it easier to dodge, which is why I am going to manipulate Gottfried to appear on the left side of the screen so I can stay to the right of him. The machine gun kind of sucks. I'm not sure why. I don't know if he has, like, iframes. The shotgun does a lot of damage. And I don't think the rocket launcher does much. I'll be shooting him with the machine gun at a distance just because I'm manipulating him. But otherwise, I'll just keep the shotgun going. When he gets low on life, the darkness at the bottom gets much thicker and goes a bit higher to where it fully obscures the kid. So I'm gonna have to consistently hop just to see where I am. It takes ages to get used to this. You're gonna die constantly to every little thing he does. And yeah, I think I'll explain some other attacks as they come up. Oh, it's worth noting the sword beam, that white projectile he fires, is randomly either high up or low to the ground. But if you just react to him holding his sword up, which is the tell for the sword beam, you can double jump so as to avoid both the high and the low projectile 100% of the time. So that's not really a problem. And the reason I front-loaded this explanation is, if that attempt was anything to go by, this shouldn't take too long. I hope. Just move horizontally for those orbs in the sky. Oh, for this you want to mash left and right rhythmically to escape, because if you don't, you just die. And you also can't move while that's happening. Yeah, here it is again. Oh no, I'm in the middle. There he is. This is bad. This is not really how I want things to be set up. It's more important to alternate mashing left and right than it is to be super fast. Because if you accidentally press the same button multiple times while doing it fast, you're not making any progress towards escaping that. There, you see what I mean about the sword beam. Oh, funny thing, this is one of the few bosses with contact damage on his sword, specifically. Which kind of makes sense, really. I'm reminded of the Zelda 1 portion of I Wanna Be the Guy with the old man. It's dangerous to go alone, take this. You jump into the sword, you die, and he says, "You idiot, you just jumped into a sword." What'd you think was gonna happen? This is bad. This is not where I want to be. But he won't move. Right, that's where he appears. I should have started moving to the right. About the orbs in the sky, I think you want to slide at the right moment to ensure that you avoid them no matter what angle they come at you from. Okay, this is ideal. And then I just die. The tells for the vertical beams are so fast. I pretty much predominantly died to them. The full screen vertical beams, as opposed to the tracking vertical beams, are, what am I doing? They're really tricky, because going in between them is fairly precise, and you have to think really fast. And you see I have the muscle memory to hop so that I can see where I am when the darkness gets really thick. Damn it. You don't want to move absent-mindedly when Gottfried isn't committed to something, because he'll just appear next to you and you'll run into his sword before he even swings it. Okay, now I'll try to manipulate him. I learned about this manipulation from the speedrun, by the way, that I was watching. I had no idea. I didn't even notice that the Wall of Darkness worked that way. I was just wondering why it was killing me sometimes and not others. The way that attack works, the way it's disjointed, I can't help but wonder if that's an oversight, because it's that weird. Yeah, you see how I would have died if I was on the opposite side of him there with the wall. Sometimes jumping can distract me when I'm trying to avoid the beams. It's funny, for some moves you want to be looking at him, but for the vertical lasers, you should obviously be looking at yourself. So you kind of have to split your attention. At least the lasers that appear on top of you. If you're not looking at that part of the screen, like there, you're just dead. Okay, that's good. I don't really mind that. It's technically a quick time event, but I get what the idea is. It sort of restricts you from moving. So once you break out, you have to quickly reposition. Although he always follows up with a teleport and melee slash, so... yeah, that. That's exactly why I get it. He binds you in place and tries to kill you while you're unable to move. Oh, damn it. I wanted to keep him over to the left, but it's fine. I should have just let him move forward. Now there, you heard that sound cue? I was too late. I died just because I didn't break out of that fast enough. And that's unavoidable, so... waggle that stick, as the graphic shows. I wonder where the stick waggling indicator comes from as an influence. Come on, please cooperate. I'm okay with taking things slow. Okay. That's not great. Oh no, I thought he was going to reappear to the right again. The middle really is the most dangerous place you can be. It's like a mix-up in a fighting game, except I don't think it's really intended to be that. That's just how it works out. Please appear to the left again. Okay. Ah! So close. And you gotta remember, it's not alternating. The exact placement of the full screen lasers is random. It's randomly offset, so you have to react. You can't just learn movements. That's what makes that so hard. Yes! Haha. That's also a pretty good fight. Aside from those strange quirks. I think maybe it would be best if, I don't know, actually. I think it's just because it's so obscure that the Wall of Darkness attack is disjointed. And yeah, you can see here. Now I can point out, since the whole map has been revealed, on the title screen, the kid is staring towards the silhouette of this castle, which is kind of cool. I bet it's right here on this edge. Yeah, I think it would probably be a little better if the Wall of Darkness just consistently appeared right on top of him, since you don't want to touch him anyway, and it had a slight delay before it started moving, so you could react if you're hammering away on him with the shotgun. I guess some people might hate the visual obfuscation of the black fog, but I think it's kind of cool. You specifically want to hop without using your double jump, just in case you have to use your double jump, like if he fires a projectile or something. I don't know. I think that fight is pretty decent overall. And I do want to stress that all three of these bosses were brick walls on my first playthrough, so don't be surprised if you keep on dying to them over and over again. It takes ages to get used to all of their shenanigans. How long has it been? You know what? I think I have some time, and the way I want to do things, I will start Tower, which, yeah, is just another boss fight, and this is the only node on the entire map that's purple, which should scare you, because that means something. I want to say, the final boss of this game, which, yes, we're already there, this game is kind of short when you're good at it, but it's not going to feel that way. That's why this playthrough has felt like a breeze in spite of all the deaths and bad rankings on the levels. It's because the first time, it took me so long to beat this, each individual area and boss took me a decent chunk, except for like the first two, they were fine. And then these last few bosses it just felt insurmountable. I didn't understand what the hell Gottfried was doing, and I just kept dying. Ayla Devalon, now that I know they're kind of unfair, that makes sense. X1 and X2 are absolutely crazy. And about the final boss, I just want to stress, it took me on and off attempts over the course of 3 years to beat this boss. Sometimes there were big breaks, other times I was trying regularly, like for a few minutes a day. And I kept coming back to it because it was that fun to even try, which I think means that this game is doing a lot of things very right. So without further ado, the point of why I'm starting this now is I'm probably going to have to practice for a while and maybe take a few days off just to pull off a victory against this boss. So, yeah. Let's see how well I can do here. I'm just going to show everything off. I don't expect to win. It's a pretty cool staging area, too. Deus and Leina. You have to double jump over that, it's really precise. They bow when they kill you, which is amazing. If that explosion attack, if you jump too early, it's very easy to get caught by the last few active frames of the explosion. So it's very precise. It's way harder than it looks. For some reason, Deus has some of Gottfried's moves, including the stick waggling, except it's much quicker and easier. These spears can cause you a lot of headaches if you don't get rid of them. I suggest the shotgun to take down 2 at a time instantly, because you can see the machine gun is way slower. This is the other move he has borrowed from Gottfried. And this, well, maybe you'll see what that is. That might look like the lasers that he did earlier, but it's not. Whenever he does those lasers, each laser is randomly either flush with the ground or above ground, somewhere around the peak of your jump. It's the elevation at which you spend the most time when you jump. I'm pretty sure it's precisely tuned. You cannot do short hops to avoid both elevations of lasers, and the other character type wouldn't even be able to do that anyway. Both the high and the low laser have a very long active duration, so if you try to short hop, you'll just die to the bottom laser. But if you jump too high, then the top laser is going to catch you. The only thing you can do differently, other than the obvious, is to double jump over the top laser, which can kind of work. But you need to quickly, the moment you hit the ground, you need to already know if you need to stand or jump again. So whenever this fight starts, the game flips a coin on which of them you fight first. You can actually restart to pick the order you fight them in. Which I don't know, I think the RNG there is a bit unnecessary. I would just require the player to move. Like, let's say this window is a safe zone, and when you activate this checkpoint, Leina's in one direction, Deus is in the other. I guess based on the window, Deus would be over here, Leina would be over there, and then you just walk outside the window towards the one you want to fight first. That's how I would do it, but it doesn't really matter. It just saves you having to press the R key a few times. It's just something that occurred to me, is all. The shotgun is ideal, pretty much. When he raises his hand like that and you hear a sound effect, that's the machine gun. Keep moving, because it tracks you and it fires for a little bit. So that is Deus's enraged attack. He will do the vertical, the horizontal lasers, I want to say 20 times in a row, and with each laser, it speeds up. I'm gonna stop here and talk about that, because that might be the single hardest attack in the entire game. It might look really simple, but here's the problem. As I explained earlier, you either need to stand on the ground or jump. double jumping over the enraged version of, I'm going to call it laser jump rope from now on, doesn't work because when the lasers get faster, they're going to catch you on the way down after a double jump. So it's still, if you end up jumping for a high laser, you can still try to jump over it with the air jump, but you're gambling your life. If the alternative is dying, gamble away, but I find that if you jump when it's a high laser, you're probably gonna die anyway. It's very difficult to react to the tells here in the first place. So if you make that mistake, you're probably dead. But if you have crazy-ass reflexes and you can double jump, you sometimes get away with it. So here's the thing. The way the lasers are telegraphed, the arrows come in from the left or right side of the screen. Which direction they're pointing in doesn't matter, but it is random. And what ends up happening there is, if you're looking towards one half of the screen and the arrows come in from the opposite side, then you're going to have slightly less time to react if you don't notice the arrows. Because by the time they've filled out the entire screen, the laser has pretty much fired already. So you want to... What I do is I look at the middle of the screen where the stained glass window is, and I try to take in the entire width of the screen at the same time. Because that way, the moment an arrow comes in from the left or right, you know if it's a high or low laser. And that gives you a little bit of extra time to react, which is crucial when the lasers speed up. I think that's pretty much it. It's worth noting both Deus and Leina, when they get low on life, they gain armor, and at that point you should be using the rocket launcher. It's around 600 life. So I think I might have switched a bit early there. That's just optimization if you want to beat them real fast. I think ideally you dip them just under 600 life, and then you just fire rockets constantly until you beat them. But yeah, in practice, I have not successfully avoided the enraged version of laser jump rope, so be very afraid. That move's pretty simple, just stand in between the orbs and double jump so the explosions don't get you. That is a very evil move. I'll explain this in a second. If you see a singular arrow flush with the ground pointing left or right, that's a wall of lasers. You want to be on the opposite side of where it's pointing or you're dead. These arrows mean this. The way I would describe them is Deus punishes you for poor reaction time for the most part. Leina more so punishes you for standing in the wrong place. Some of her attacks are very difficult to avoid if your positioning is bad. Like, standing close to her is a bad idea because of that move. Yeah, in terms of the narrative, I don't know exactly what's going on, but I'm pretty sure these two are the big bads. I'm pretty sure all of the armies serve them. And they live in this castle that's at the end of all these defenses, so... Normally I wouldn't care about story in a fan game, but there is something going on here. That's why you want to get rid of the spears, because the flamethrower is unavoidable at close range. So you need to clear up enough space to guarantee that you can survive, even if he does the flamethrower immediately after the spears. I have never been able to avoid the flamethrower at close range. It's too fast and tracks you too hard. That's pretty simple, just jump at the right time and you're good. Though it can vary a little bit because the spawn points of those knives are random. If they start firing while you're falling down, you can jump off the ground to dodge the remainder of the volley. If you fell too soon. That attack's kind of fun. It's just precisely standing in between them. And I know what I said about the arrows coming in from the left or the right might be just a few frames worth of difference, but it does really make a difference. I am not joking about that. When he does just 4 of those as a regular attack, you can double jump over all of them, but I suggest you don't do that so you can practice this. One huge problem I have with that attack, and it's a me thing, I have some sort of reflex to just jump when I see those arrows, even if I shouldn't jump, which is terrible. I actually mostly die to jumping when I shouldn't. Fun fact about that attack that I just died to. If you're standing too close to Leina, you unavoidably die to an instant untelegraphed laser, because that's a safe spot for the attack otherwise, so they just block you off from being able to stay there. But you can get close enough to fire the shotgun at her. So, I forgot to explain. The FPS counter is in the top right corner, I think specifically because of Leina. Because if you notice, when this clock face is on screen, the FPS cap is raised. I'm pretty sure the game's logic is tied to the FPS, so they increase the FPS cap to increase the flow of time. Speed up the flow of time, that is. I think you could do the same thing with variable tick speed, but I don't mind them doing it this way. Like, who the hell wants to play Justice Guy at 120 or a completely uncapped frame rate? You don't need that. 60 is enough as far as I'm concerned. A free fan game doesn't need to adhere to standards that, in my opinion, don't even... It's kind of an extreme stance that every game should have an uncapped frame rate and variable tick speeds. Or frame-independent tick speed, I mean. I've heard that notion from a lot of people, and I just think it's... way too much. The same thing with the notion that any game that runs below 60 FPS is bad. I disagree. If you're playing a turn-based game, why the hell do you need anything more than a solid 30 FPS? There is little to no practical benefit whatsoever. Don't even get me started on the people who notice the difference between 60 and 120, and it's so... the difference is so obvious to them that it just irritates them and they can't go back. I think that's absurd. I think that's just pretentious as hell. It's not that big of a deal, you're just complaining. Now, I do think devs should do the best they can in terms of performance, but I'm just looking for consistent performance that's good enough for the purposes of a game. That's my stance on that. All in all, I think it's neat that they use the FPS to screw with the flow of time with Leina the way they do. Essentially, the way that effect works is, instead of doing an attack, sometimes she'll just speed up time, and there's this. Damn it. I guess I'll finish talking about the time acceleration, and then I'll explain what just happened there. Basically, instead of doing an attack, Leina will accelerate time, and the effect will last until... for her entire next attack, up until the start of the following attack. So sometimes when she performs an attack and is just instantly firing out bullets, time will stay accelerated until she moves again and starts another attack. I think it specifically works that way for the projectile attacks, so so that it can have a notable effect on them. It's kind of cool, actually. You might be used to the feel of Leina's attacks, and then whenever she speeds up time, it just completely throws you off your groove. Now, about those keys above my head. Above your head, there's a sequence of numbers from integers 1 through 4, right? Those are the weapon switch keys. Below you is a timer. If the timer expires before you complete the sequence above you, you unavoidably die. So you're forced to constantly switch weapons while avoiding some of Leina's attacks. And if you get through the whole sequence, the timer disappears, you're safe. That only happens once. That is Leina's enrage move. It's much like a Deus's, I'm going to call it Laser Jump Rope Ultra, where he does 20 in a row. And yeah, if you press an incorrect key, like it says 2 right there, if I were to press 1, 3, or 4, you also instantly die, so you need to be very careful with that. I think your best bet is to hold down the fire button, keep switching weapons, move left and right, and jump to avoid some attacks. You can do all of that at once, but it's really... I think it depends. If you're really, really bad at multitasking, but your reflexes are amazing, maybe you'll find this more difficult than Deus's attack, but I sincerely doubt it. More likely, you're gonna find Deus more difficult, because that attack is just so precise. And at this point, I've died enough times that we don't see the portraits anymore. One funny thing about both Deus and Leina, they move to random positions. Random horizontal positions before they do each of their attacks, right? You can see that Leina just moves once, Deus moves rapidly multiple times. Because Leina only moves once, when she does this attack, I'm gonna choose Leina, if possible. It might have something to do with, like, which frame you start the fight at as to which one of them appears. I don't know how the RNG works, but I was getting Deus there. I don't know, maybe it was just random. Anyway, the loop-de-loop butterflies, I'm gonna call them. She always stands in a specific position on the left or right. And if she's already in that position when she selects that attack, and you're next to her, you might just instantly die to the laser that stops you from standing in the safe spot. That's the only thing you gotta watch out for. It's since you're always expecting to see them move before they perform an attack, that can be kind of unfair. But once you know that's a possibility, you can very easily avoid it. I just pressed 4. Damn it. I think I want to get a good enough attempt at Leina, specifically, before I end this part. I generally think that Leina's easier, so you probably want to start with Deus, but I think Leina's the one I could possibly beat. That was too slow. I think she's the one I could possibly beat before this video ends. I have to say, I really appreciate that Leina's boots are black, because if they were white, then that singular arrow that appears at ground level could blend in with her boots, and that would suck. I'm being completely serious. That's happened many times in my attempts, and I realized how good that it stands out against her clothing. Deus is wearing all black, so... No. so it's not a problem with him regardless, but it could have been a problem with Leina, but it isn't, and I wonder if they considered that. Or wait, Deus doesn't do that freaking attack. If he had the same telegraph, it could be a problem. That's what I was thinking. At this point, she's heavily armored. Maybe they gradually gain armor. That was close. I pressed 4 again. What's wrong with me? I think they gradually gain armor the less life they have, but it's not until they're close to a third of their life remaining. More than a third, actually. Around 600 is where it really kicks in. Damn. It's worth noting that both Deus and Leina have different poses that correspond to a set of attacks. But I think each pose has at least 2 attacks associated with it, but based on whether you hear an audio cue or see another visual cue at the same time, you can know exactly what they're doing. You can kind of slide under Leina there. I think there might be a radius around the kid where the butterflies are not allowed to spawn, but it's a very small radius. So I think that should work out if she has you cornered or something. She really loves this move right now. Damn it. I think this is where my control mappings really suck. I can work with it. I basically hammer through most of the inputs of, I'm going to call that Leina's curse for future reference. But I can hammer through most of its inputs when she does a safe attack that I don't have to pay too much attention to. But it would definitely be better if I set up my controls to be QWER or something like that. And then the num keys would be right next to my action buttons. It's a little silly, but when there are so few instances where it's a problem, it doesn't really bother me. And hey, at least it makes Leina a bit harder, so she's more comparable to Deus. I don't even know if they're like siblings or king and queen, or I don't know. The lore eludes me. I heard something about them being corrupted by evil powers, but I'm not sure. I should really research translations of the game someday. I saw some translations of Best Guy and Time Machine. I pressed 4 again. Curses. I think I'm gonna stop soon. In fact, I'll stop after this attempt. I have nothing more to say, and this is gonna take a hell of a lot of practice. So whenever... what did I just say? But it's so fun to just try. I can't stop. But I thought of something to say, so... Whenever you don't see any tell for another move from Leina, you should be looking for that singular arrow on the floor. Like that. That can save you from a lot of death. So, with these magnificent bastards posing, I'll end it there. And I'll just say, I wanted to try beating Leina here. If I ever successfully did her curse, I probably would have beat her. Because I wanted to showcase that you have to beat both of these bosses back to back. You can choose which order to fight them in, but you have to beat them both in a single attempt. Hitless. Because this is an I Want to Be the Guy fan game, you die in one hit. So yeah, that's why this took me a while. I was stuck here for so long. My god. But I really love this fight. It's awesome. It's amazing how well it comes together. And yeah, I'll save the rest of my ramblings for later. Hopefully, there might be a big delay between this part and the next one. I could get stuck for days. We'll see. But if everything goes right, whenever that happens, the next part will start with a clear of this boss fight. Thank you for watching.